on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. This is Steven in Stereo, and in today's video we are diving into Harry Styles as he has a little BBC Live Lounge moment. These are some of my favorite performances from a lot of artists that we check out because I feel like it gives them a chance to do something a little different, change the approach of something, whatever. And in today's video, we actually have Harry Styles doing Wet Dream, a Wet Leg cover. That's a lot of moisture. I don't actually know this song, so I'm really looking forward to see just kind of what he does with it. I will say that hearing about all this precipitation brings me back to Harry's house and the line "Wet Dream Dangling." The visual on that is definitely something that hits a little bit different, but I am really much looking forward to this. I'm just so glad to see that the promo for this is really happening, obviously with coronavirus. Fine Lines promo didn't get to happen like this, so I'm glad to see that the rollout and marketing behind Harry's house has been so successful this far. Before we get into today's video, I just want to plug my Patreon. I don't do advertisements, I don't believe in sponsorships, so my entire channel is supported by my patrons. So in exchange for that, I like to do a lot of exclusive content over there, or just more long form, kind of laid back videos. So I did a full uncut album reaction or listening party of Harry's house over on Patreon, as well as the Zane Lowe interview, which was like several hour reaction, so kind of a long video, but I also have a ton of other content from him, documentaries, I've got One Direction content, you name it. So if you're interested in supporting this channel as well as getting access to those things, it's super cheap and I appreciate all of you so much. But with all those things out of the way, I'm stoked. Like I said, I don't know this song, so I am looking forward to just kind of seeing the approach and just like, you know, what they do here. So let's go. Oh, I love his band, so this is gonna be sick.
Beat me up, count me in, 3, 2, 1, let's begin. Here we go, here we go.
Like, think about it. I love Harry Styles. I think I've made that very clear. I think many of us out there can share that same feeling, right? I truly believe that when I'm watching Harry Styles live or I'm listening to something from Harry Styles, as much as him as the artist is very important, I've always seen it as like his band being such an extension of himself. And so I often praise the fact that he's got such a great band and that they have this like really great camaraderie together, because honestly, some of the most amazing moments from him are because of that chemistry. You can even hear it here, just getting those backing vocals from the drummer. It's just like so fucking cool to me to hear those different dynamics happen.
Let's begin. Here we go, here we go. I was in your wet dream, driving in the car.
So he is there. We got the Wet Dream Dangling, just a different version of the Wet Dream.
I was in your wet dream, driving in the car. Saw you at the side of the road. There's no one else around you, touching yourself. Touching yourself, touching yourself. You say, baby, do you want to come home with me? I've got Buffalo 66 on DVD. Say, baby, do you want to come home with me? I've got Buffalo 66 on
Yes!
beat me up, count me in, 3, 2, 1, let's begin. Here we go, here we go, here we go. I was in
Okay, before he gets this key change and comes in even harder right here, I applaud where he is at right now. There is something about the level of cool that kind of exists in Harry Styles. It always has, even from the One Direction days. He always just had this very cool attitude and vibe about him. It made him stand out in so many ways, even from such like early on in his career, right? But like Harry Styles 1 was obviously very cool. Fine Line, very cool. But there is something about like the calmness, like the very collective version of Harry Styles that we're getting not only through Harry's house in its entirety, but even through this performance, even through Coachella. There's something about like somebody doing exactly what they want to, being passionate about it to the point that they're not trying to do anything to prove anything to anybody. And even in this, like he's just enjoying this moment. And honestly, like some of the coolest moments here, other than the fact that Harry Styles is here, is getting to hear the band's like backing moments and kind of like getting to really jam out in this instrumental. Again, I think of them as this complete package. And so like, it's just a level of cool that I aim to have a 10th of one day. Like, he is just like a chill potato right here. Just an absolute chill potato. A hot potato, a complex carbohydrate, but chill. Oh, fuck. One more. Woo!
What makes you think you're good enough to think about me when you're touching yourself, touching yourself, touching yourself, touching yourself?
Okay, I know that they didn't write this song, but what makes you think you're good enough to think about me when you're touching yourself? That's a fucking great line.
What makes you think you're good enough to think about me when you're touching yourself, touching yourself, touching yourself?
So sick. Mitch is just fucking jamming this whole goddamn song.
Touching yourself, touching yourself. You climb onto the bonnet and you're licking the windscreen.
Woo!
I've never seen anything so obscene. It's enough to make a girl blush. It's enough to make a girl blush. It's enough, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough. Oh, it's enough. Oh, it's enough. Oh, it's enough. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Woo! One more, count us down.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's begin. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Woo!
Let's begin.
Oh, fuck, wait a minute. This whole section right here. Yes!
Let's begin.
And just ending it on that fucking cool note. Again, bringing me back to this absolute chill but perfect potato here. Being able to just like deliver like this in such a consistent manner. I mean, these days we are blessed to be in the presence of so many amazing and talented artists, and that consistency becomes so important. And someone like Harry Styles really found a lane pretty early on in being able to have that consistent pattern. And one thing that I was always drawn to about him was the obvious influences of more of like the rock, classic rock sort of styles. And those things have come out so much more between Harry Styles 1, Fine Line, and now Harry's House. I have attributed him, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know. I don't really give a fuck. We got a cool potato here, right? He's modern day Bowie. That's just what I'm gonna say. I love David Bowie so much. I grew up listening to him some years exclusively, and I just feel like a lot of the things that Bowie was doing, not only in music, but in fashion, just iconic level of mastery, we're getting those moments from Harry Styles in these modern days, and I love that. So going into a performance like BBC, I'm always excited because I know that an artist is gonna do a couple songs that we know from them, but they're also going to do something a little different, give us a cover, usually a cover and taking it in a different form. I don't know this track, so I don't know if that is very similar to the original or if this was definitely a lot different, but I will say that I love the heavy rock and almost punk influence in this track. I think this band, where it stands, this is a really cool genre for them to explore. First off, you've got people like Mitch in this band who is incredible on the guitar, and though we love to get a shredding moment from Mitch when it comes to a song like She, for example, especially that Coachella performance we watched. Are you fucking kidding me? I also love to get to hear him shred in more of a punk adjacent track like this. Again, I feel like Harry is at a place right now where he is so high on his success, and it's like the most humble that he's ever been. And the thing is, like, I've always found him to be extremely humble, but after watching the Zane Lowe interview and seeing him kind of like somehow get even more calm and collected about all the things that are going on in his life, he seemed a lot more human. And I feel like while I was watching that and kind of getting all of those different moments from him, kind of, you know, going through that same pandemic we all did, and kind of like what he was doing in that process and leaving social media and things like that. I see him in these performances now, and I see that very humanized version of him. So even in this, he's got some really awesome notes with that rasp coming in, again, bringing that rock influence, but he does leave a lot for the band to actually pick up on. And Harry Styles is one of those people that the band is so important, because the style of music that he chooses to be influenced by directly correlates to these live performances of getting these moments. So when we watch them at Coachella, the whole band fucking shreds in so many amazing ways. They just bring on this very powerful performance, and it allows a personality like Harry Styles to shine as if every light in the world is turned on to him in that moment. And while he never tries to take the spotlight over that band, they just all seem to share this space in a wonderful way. I'm just so excited about Harry's House, and I'm glad we're doing this because I get a chance to kind of talk about it. I've seen some conflicting opinions about the album online. People that, you know, say it's kind of boring, it's generic, it's not for them. And while I totally, like, I am all for, like, please have your opinion, I want you to. Not everybody's gonna like everything, and that's really important, because I've seen people try to argue about other people's opinions on the internet, and I don't see a point in that. You're gonna like what you like, you're gonna not like what you don't like, and that's the thing about art and music being so subjective, right? So those things are very important to remember. I feel like if you go into an album with certain expectations, you're always gonna be let down, right? Because, like, if I expect the Descendants to put out the same album that they did in their first couple, if I expect to hear Milo Goes to College all over again, I'm not. While they do have a similar sound like that, they're very far from that band originally. They're onto something different now, right? And I feel like maybe that was not the best example, because that band has essentially played the same style for a long time, but you get the picture. When I look at an artist like Harry Styles, you know, I'm glad that I went into it after watching an interview, because I think it really allowed me to see where he was coming from. But the other part is, when it comes to Harry Styles, I don't have an expectation, because he's one of those artists that there is really no boundaries. In fact, the only boundaries that seem to have exist are what kind of came into fruition from him being in a commercially successful state when it came to his music, right? So while not everybody was interested in maybe some of the slower tracks, or maybe some of the like more electronic tracks, even though I don't think there were as many as people made it seem, I do think that you can't ever really get caught up in a sound. You have to choose to try to find artists doing what you love, or maybe being open-minded and getting into the genres that they are doing, in order for you to fully appreciate things. Like, if you go on first listen, oh, this is not what I wanted. Well, guess what? The reality is that album was made because it's what he wanted. And that's one of the things I got from that interview, was that he wanted to make a album that he wanted to make. He didn't want to chase the single, didn't want to chase the commercial success, because Fine Line did that. What he wanted, and I love the analogy, he named it Harry's House because he wanted you to be able to come into his house if you wanted to, where this is the music he'll be playing. However, if you're not interested, that's okay. You don't have to come. You can choose to. There's other albums. I don't know where I saw this. I don't know if it was that interview or if it was something else that I watched recently, but I heard someone saying that, like, people get away from these albums that they put out, and they go on to make, you know, these new sounds. People are like, oh, I wish you'd make this album again. Well, I don't have to. It's already there. I'm pretty sure it's the Zane Lowe interview, but that's a really great thing too, because I've got this, you know, record collection behind me. There are some bands that have put out a different style of album every album that they put out. If I were to just, like, zero in on only wanting to hear one sound from them, odds are I'd be let down by the rest of the discography. So I look at modern pop music, and I look at modern pop rock, and I see the transitions that are happening in music, the evolution. If I want my favorite artists to stick around, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to have them have that creative outlet that allows them to create what they want to, and I don't have to be marketed by what the media tells me I'm going to like. Rather, go into music enjoying it. Because at the end of my album reaction, all I could think in my head was, this is going to be his most successful album. And when I posted it, and then I looked online at what people were saying, the reaction was very different. A lot of people didn't actually feel that way. It was one of the first times that I saw an artist that typically can do no wrong in the eyes of people who really are fans of his actually have a more negative look on the album. And I thought it'd be really interesting to address because I don't often see that. And I try not to look at reviews. I try not to look at anything prior to doing an album reaction because I really want to hear what I want to hear. I don't want someone to tell me what I'm going to hear. I want to hear what I'm going to hear. So at the end of that album, for me to like love so much of it and so many aspects of it and find just really great things to dive into and then see the reaction on like social media was the first time that that's ever really happened to me. So I'm very curious. You guys are here. We're talking about this. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on Harry's House. I have a full album reaction here. It's a little chopped up, obviously for copyright. I have a full uncut album reaction over on Patreon. And I'm genuinely curious as to what you guys felt about that album. I will say that I definitely want to check out the original version of this song because obviously one thing I did say is that Harry Styles has been getting a lot more comfortable with diving more into intimacy, something that he's always like, you know, through different forms talked about it in his music, but I feel like Harry Styles was the first time that it was a little bit more explicit in nature. And then we hear wet dream, wet leg cover, wet dream dangling. There's a lot of, again, precipitation going on around this. And I'm just genuinely curious as to how you guys feel about all this. I'm fucking stoked about it. And I hope I get a chance to see him live again in the very near future because it would be fucking incredible to hear some of Harry's House live. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to comment. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.